Hi, welcome. Today we've got Zach Baldwin, owner of Between the Lines Baseball, works with the Huntington Hounds travel organization as well. Zach, appreciate you joining us tonight.
No problem, Marty. Thank you for having me.
Sure. Walk me through your playing background. You've been around the wheel a little bit.
Yeah, I've seen some things, but born and raised here in Barbersville, West Virginia. Went to Cabell Middle High School. Graduated 2001. Signed to go play college baseball at Coastal Carolina. I was down in Coastal Carolina for 3 years. Decided to transfer in 2005. I ended up going to West Virginia State to play for the legend Cal Bailey.
Yeah.
I played for Cal in 2005, 2006. 2006, I was a 31st round draft pick by the Washington Nationals. I went straight to Burlington, Vermont for short season rookie ball in New York Penn League. And then the second year, I went to Hagerstown. I missed the first month. I got injured in spring training about a week out. So I didn't play a full season in Hagerstown, but I missed 3 weeks of the season, of the start of the season, and then played the entirety of the season out there. And then, unfortunately, about a month out from spring training the following year, I got a phone call from the farm director, and he said my services were no longer needed. And I asked why.
I've heard that conversation.
Yeah, I asked him why. Is there any specific reason? And he said, Zach, I'll be 100% honest with you. I don't know. So that kind of told me that it was from a higher power. But
my guy told me that he thought I could make more money being an accountant than what I was going to probably make in the baseball world.
Yeah, he actually Bobby joked with me and told me that I should probably go pursue the golf route. That I had a better chance of playing on the PGA Tour than pitching in the show. But
now you got recruited to play some golf, or you were pretty good out of high school, right?
I was actually probably recruited a little bit harder to play college golf than I was to play college baseball. But I decided on baseball because I'm 6'6" and left-handed. You know, it there's not a lot of those guys out there, and I thought my chances of actually making it were a little bit higher playing baseball than it was playing golf. And
you still swing it well?
Oh yeah, I still play. I'm not bragging or anything, but I'm still a scratch player. I can move it pretty well. So
that's good. So if I'm down there, I'll keep my wallet in my pants then.
Absolutely. Actually, no, get it out. I'll get you, and we'll get a game with somebody. You can be my ringer.
Hey, okay. As long as I'm on that side, that works good.
Absolutely. I want to kind of go back on my playing career. I forgot to mention when I got released. I don't know why I forgot this, but I ended up going to Winnipeg, Canada, and playing some independent baseball. And I ended up playing up there for 5 years. I fell in love with the city, fell in love with the fans. And to me, I looked at that as like my shot to get back. After my first 2 years, I got no calls. I pitched really well. And then I ended up staying 3 more years after that. And I told myself going into it, I was going to give myself 2 years. And if I didn't get picked up, I was going to pursue life and whatever avenues life took me on. But I ended up playing up there for 5 years. Really loved to play. In 2012, and I was like, pretty good time to retire there. So love Winnipeg. I can't say enough good things about the Winnipeg Gold Eyes organization. The manager I had up there, his name was Rick Forney. He's a Maryland guy, and I really can't say enough good things about them and their organization. They're first class all the way.
So indie ball, like are you sleeping in the back of a car? What was the situation up there?
I got treated very well up there. I had a host family. Her name was Julie Bubnick. She lived in a really nice community. She was widowed. She was single. Her house was incredible. And she basically treated me like her son. And she didn't really give me any rules. She traveled a lot from where she was widowed. So I would say probably 70, 80% of the time up there, I had $500,000 home to myself, which was not bad.
Man,
Yeah,
there's such a disparity, like it depends
exactly.
on who you get, man.
Yeah.
You lucked out.
I've heard some terrible stories from some indie ball guys, but I was very lucky. Now the bus rides, being in Winnipeg, Canada, and we would travel to Texas and to Kansas City and to Chicago, you're looking anywhere from 13, 14 to 20, 24-hour bus trips, and they were long and grueling. A lot of NyQuil was consumed.
All right, so walk me through how do you get from Winnipeg independent ball to working with your current organization and then partnering up with the Hounds?
Okay. When I ended up going to Winnipeg, Canada, I had a buddy here. He had a baseball academy. He was trying to start it from the grassroots, get it up, and he asked me if I would be interested in doing some pitching lessons. And I never really thought a whole lot into the coaching side of it, because I always thought I was going to pitch in the big leagues, and I was never going to have to coach. But obviously that didn't work out, and I just love baseball. I love the art of pitching, and it's a position where you can't really hide. Everybody sees you. All the eyes are on you. It's mano a mano. My best stuff versus your best stuff. Who's going to win? And I thought with my resume and what I've done in the game, I've had some success. I didn't do great at Coastal, but when I went to West Virginia State, I ended up having couple All-American years. I was 19-0 in 2 years. That eventually got me drafted. Pitched pretty well the 2 years of pro ball I had. Pitched very well the 5 years of indie ball I had. And the old cliche, the student of the game, I kind of thought I was a student of the game. I was always very interested in watching guys, how they would go about their business, how they would what they thought about, what they looked for, and it's just, and everybody's a little bit different. You being a former pitcher, we're a little bit weird. We have our routines and everybody's routine.
Especially the lefties.
Oh, yeah, well, I've been told I'm a weird lefty, and I've been told I'm the most normal lefty ever. So I don't really know where I fall in the lefty spectrum, but most lefties are pretty weird. So
unique.
Yes. That's a better word for it. And then once I decided I was gonna do the lessons, and I just fell in love with it. I really enjoyed watching the kids get better and kind of implementing some things that I learned. I had some really good coaches along the way. Gary Gilmore at Coastal Carolina is fantastic. He's won a national championship in 2016. Obviously playing under Cal Bailey at West Virginia State, who's he's just a legend, man. He really is. And then I was very fortunate in my 2 years with the Washington Nationals. I got to pitch under Paul Minhart, who was their pitching coach last year, who won a World Series. And unfortunately, I actually saw today where they let him go, and that was kind of disturbing news. I didn't know that, but it's kind of hard to understand how you can win a World Series and lose your job the following year.
Man, there's a lot of turnover in baseball right now.
Exactly, but I have a feeling why it happened. He's very old school, and with how baseball's going, I don't know if he clashed or something like that happened. I can't speak for it, but he was tremendous, and he always told me, he said, Zach, every pitcher has their own certain way. He goes, everybody's different. Arm angles are different. Deliveries are different. Pace is different. The way they use their lower half is different, but the fundamentals of the mechanics are all the same. So, and that's one thing I try to implement with the guys I work with, that even from the 6-year-old kid to the college pro guy. So it's been awesome, and I've been doing it since 2007, and I merged with the Hounds last year, and it's been great. It's been really nice.
So talk to me a little bit about the Hounds. What's their organization like? How many teams do they have? What age groups? How's it all structured?
The Hounds, they used to go all the way from 8U all the way up to 17U, and then this past year we decided we were going to focus more on the older kids. Right now we're set up 13U through 17U, and we've got everybody that's involved is a quality baseball guy. I know myself, I've got 7-8 years professional experience. Brandon Ramsey just got who's the president of the Hounds. He just got inducted to the Kentucky Coaches Hall of Fame. Jason Holmes, who played college baseball and a scout with the Colorado Rockies. You got Caleb Stewart, who was drafted by the Mets, almost made it to the big leagues, played at Kentucky. So there's a wealth of knowledge there. There's a wealth of knowledge there, and they're all baseball guys, and we're all in it to do the same thing, and that's to get kids exposed, get kids seen, and eventually get them to college, whether it be NCAA Division III school, a junior college school, Division I school, Power 5 school, or draft pick out of high school. And yeah, you may have to check my numbers on this, but I think since 2003, we've had 35 draft picks through our Hounds organization. And then if you're ever down in Huntington and you step in the Hounds building, you can look up on the rafters, and it's just banner after banner of guys that played at the next level. And I played for the Hounds. It was fantastic when I was there. Thoroughly enjoyed it. They did a lot for me as far as getting exposure, getting seen. And now, granted, did Coastal Carolina come watch me pitch when I was pitching for them? No, they did not. But I got a lot of offers from pitching for them.
So what do you guys do on the recruiting side? So obviously there's the playing schedule and all that. What kind of the value add stuff? What do you guys do to help guys in that recruiting process?
Well, one thing we use the PBR. We use PBR. We use Perfect Game. And you're familiar with Josh Kirkendall. A lot of our guys are in the PBR system. A lot of our guys are in the Perfect Game system. So that's obviously a resource. Another resource that we do is just our contacts. We've from where we've all played at a pretty high level. We all have pretty good contacts. And I can't really speak for what the other coaches do. I know me personally, last year battling this COVID stuff, obviously D1 schools couldn't come out and recruit. But one thing that I've always done, even when I had the Huntington Patriots before the Hounds, anytime my recruit eligible kids would go on the road, I would get on the internet. I would research. Like, for example, if the kids are going to Cincinnati, I would find the schools within a 2-hour driving distance, send an email blast and say, this is our roster. This is who I think that could help you. And some guys really liked it, and some guys you would get zero feedback, but that's just how it is.
It's all different. Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody's a little bit different. And from my playing days to now, I've built up a pretty good database of coaches I can reach out to, I can call. Some of them are personal friends, and I've got an email list that's very, very long because I've been doing this for a while. So, but as far as using one service, we haven't really done that. I haven't really done that, but sure. I've pretty much gone on emails and knowing that my playing resume will at least get me listened to.
Yeah.
Instead of some Joe Schmo dad that's never played the game saying his kid throws 95 and he throws 76. So
yeah, for sure. So you're around the players and the parents. What kind of mistakes do you see parents making in this recruiting process? What just kind of like, man, you go, wow.
One of the biggest mistakes I see, and this is going to sound pretty harsh, is there's zero self-awareness. A lot of parents have major blinders on. And if I could give one piece of advice to parents out there, is figure out your self-awareness. Know where your kid stands. And I would be willing to bet if you take a certain kid, he knows his ability. Like if I would take him one-on-one and talk to him and say, where do you think you stand? And he would be honest with me. But on the other hand, if I take his mom or dad and say, where do you think he stands? Well, he should go to Vanderbilt. He should go to South Carolina. He should go to Coastal Carolina. He should get drafted. And then I have to be the bad guy and say, well, your son throws 74. He doesn't have a lot of pitchability. He's undersized. He's not very strong. The chances of him pitching at a Power 5 school are pretty much zero. So let's try to take a step back and let's figure out where we can go with this. But the thing I've noticed, and I think the parents from kids I've coached the past few years could vouch for me on this. I've been very honest with them, and I think honesty is the best policy when it comes to that. Some kids don't like it, some parents don't like it, but I can't call a school and stick my neck out for a kid when I know the talent isn't there. But the big thing is, you got to have some self-awareness. You have to.
So when you're looking at the travel piece of this in the recruiting process, how big a deal is it that you play for a quality travel team in your recruiting process?
I think it's very important because these college coaches want to see these kids play against top tier talent. They don't want to go watch a kid at, for example, if you play in a PBR down at Lake Point. If a kid goes down there and performs well against top tier talent, that's going to open up some eyes. But if you have a kid that goes play in a local game versus a Legion team, and it's composed of, let's just say I have a 17U team and this team's composed of 14, 15-year-olds, and the kid goes out and dominates, I don't think a coach really wants to see that. He wants to see equal talent versus equal talent. How do we fare there? So that's why I think it's very important before you choose a summer organization, what kind of schedule are they playing? Are they going to go play in your top tier PBR events, your top tier perfect game events, your top tier prospect select events, your top tier dynamic events, pastime events, your Buckeye elites, your events like that, which are all highly scouted.
So you mentioned a little bit there at the end about what are the considerations. So if I'm a parent and I'm looking for next summer, I'm looking for a competitive team.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of those other factors? And then how does it work with the coach? Should parents call them up, or should they just look at the website and then say, hey, they want to play? I mean, what are the considerations that they should look for, and then how do they go about finding out what a team offers?
I think the first thing you should do is look at the organization, look them up, see their background, see their history. Do they have a track record of getting kids to college, and then figure out, okay, my son's 16 years old. Who's the 16U coach? Figure out a way to contact him, set something up for a tryout, and go in and then just kind of get the ball rolling there. A lot of times, if you have a good organization, word of mouth goes around, and you'll be able to get kids that you don't think you could probably get just by word of mouth. For example, I've got a couple kids that I have from the northern part of the state. I have a pretty good prospect. I'm not going to say his name. I don't want to name drop kids at the moment. And he had good buddies that are good players. Word of mouth. I like playing for this guy. He's helped me out a lot. Next thing I know, I end up having 2 or 3 quality kids come because of it. But do your homework. It's very important. Figure out the track record. Is this guy in it for the right reasons? Is he in it to make money? Is he in it to develop kids? Does he have contacts? Is he going to BS you? Is he truthful? Is he honest? There's several variables that factor into it, but I would definitely get on the websites, especially with how technology is now. You can pretty much find anything about anybody. Do your homework. Do your homework and figure out, is this guy a pitching guy? Is this guy a hitting guy? Is this guy an infield guy? Does he know people? Where did he play? How high did he get? And I'm not saying you have to play at a high level to be a good coach. I'm not saying that. But when you have a coach that's had those experiences, he can relate to the players a little bit better. And those players tend to respect you a little bit more. Like, for example, my guys last year, they talk a lot of trash about, oh, you're old, you can't get me out. And so I go out and I get on the mound. It takes me 2 weeks to recover, but I shove it on him for about 100 pitches, and like, oh, he actually was really good. So.
That's good. So tell me a little bit about your roster, like how many guys you carry, POs, how do you guys manage that because I mean, that's one of the considerations I would think that someone would look at is, hey, how many guys, how do you guys do playing time? How do you manage that roster?
I think for your younger ages, I think you don't need to be so position specific. I still think the kids are finding themselves at that 13, 14-year-old group. But I think once you start hitting your 15, 16-year-old age group, you kind of have a much better feel on where you stand, where you're at. Like, you don't want to take a catcher and turn him into a center fielder, you know. But for me, on my 17U team, I'm going to carry 14, 15 position guys and probably 3 to 4 POs. And I'm going to carry 2 catchers, and 1 catcher after that is probably going to be a utility guy that can catch if needed. But when it comes to my roster, I've done this for a while, and you have to be pitching heavy. You have to be, because if you play these big events, some of these events are Tuesday through Sunday, and that's where you need your 4 or 5 POs. That's where you need a couple position guys that can come in and eat up 3 to 6 to 9 outs for you if needed. You need those guys in case you're getting blown out or you're blowing somebody out that can come in and get somebody out. And a lot of these games are on the hour 52 hour time limit. So sometimes you, if it's a slower paced game, you're only getting four or 5 innings in max. So then you have to figure out, well, who's going to pitch here, who's going to pitch there.
Tell me a little bit about the difference between how you're doing it with when you're playing in showcases and when you're playing in actual tournaments with regards to playing time, because that's a big thing for parents.
Absolutely.
When they're looking for teams. Absolutely. Playing time. Tell me the difference and how you explain that to the parents.
Showcase events are exactly what you think they are. You're there to showcase the player. So if I have 14 guys, I'm gonna have my 8 starters in my arm game 1. The very next, in probably 2-3 innings into that game, I'm making switches. That way everybody gets a chance to play. Everybody gets a chance to be showcased. And the next day, the next game 2 is going to be a completely different starting lineup. Game 3 will be a different starting lineup. And versus a tournament where I think your pool play games, you kind of approach those a little more like showcase games. They're not as important, but when you get to tournament play, you're there to win. I mean, winning breeds success. Winning is what everybody wants to do. It's really tough to develop when you lose because the mindset it tanks. So it's not necessarily you're going to run a kid out there. Like for me, from the pitching side of it, I'm not going to let a starter go more than 80, 85 pitches. And I've seen horror stories of guys that'll run their horse out there 120 pitches, and 2 days later he's starting again. That's never going to happen with me. I've been cut on, I've been hurt, and that's the last thing I'm wanting to do is kill a kid's career just because I want to go win. I want to go win a Saturday tournament game in Lexington, Kentucky, in a perfect game event. You know.
So I'm a parent or even a player, and my expectations are not being met. I'm on the Hounds or I'm on whatever other team.
Mhm.
What? How should I deal with those missed expectations? I'm either not playing time, or I don't feel like I'm getting recruited, or the coaches aren't calling the schools. What's the right process? Because I get this phone call from parents all the time about, hey, the coach is this, or the team's this, and what's your advice for those parents?
I would say first and foremost, go talk to the coach. Go find out what he's doing. And if he's not up to par and he's not doing the job that he's promised you, and there's in this day and age, especially now, there's always somebody else out there. There's always another organization out there. Now, do you want to be known as an organizational hopper where you play for one team 13, another team 14, another team 15, another team 16? I don't know. People may want to do that. People may not. But I know from my standpoint, I know if a parent's upset with me, I would really hope they would come and talk to me first before putting me on blast on social media or with a college coach or with somebody else. So I would have to just really that's a pretty tough question because I'm not a parent. I don't know how I would react to that. I am a parent. I have three girls. I don't have any no no affiliation with baseball with my girls. They may play softball, but they're 1, 3, and 5. So
You got a
it's
little bit of time.
yeah, we've we've got some time. But yeah, I would definitely you would definitely have to reach out to the coach and schedule a one-on-one meeting. I'm a big body language person. If I come and talk with you, I'm gonna read you, and I can probably tell if you're BSing me or if you're telling me the truth.
So how do you set the expectations for players and parents, like on playing time and what they're going to get from a recruiting standpoint and experience with the Hounds?
Well, playing time is, I believe that's earned. I don't think I can go talk to a second baseman and say you're going to start for me when I have two or three other kids. We're going to have some workouts. I'm going to watch them through their high school season. You're going to earn your time. And I don't think it's fair to compile a team of promises, where you promise this kid that kid this, but the other three kids that are in the same position you say nothing to. I don't believe that's right. And I try to get everybody equal time. But when it comes to for real games, I'm going to put my best lineup out there probably to start the game off.
What about on the recruiting side? Like, do you guys have meetings early on and tell players and families like, hey, this is what we're going to do for you from a recruiting
Yeah,
standpoint?
absolutely. From the recruiting side, I always tell them, I'm like, give me a product I can sell to these college coaches. Give me a player, give me a kid that's going to work his butt off, that's going to make me want to help him. And that's my job, is to get those kids seen. I I can I can honestly say and truthfully say I can get the college coaches to come. I can't make the college coaches like you. So what you do on the field is going to determine if that college coach likes you or not. For example, we're down in Myrtle Beach 2 years ago. I played at Coastal Carolina. I know Gary Gilmore pretty well. We talk often. And he's there. He's watching a kid from the South Charlotte Panthers play, which is a really good organization out of Charlotte, North Carolina. And it supposedly the kid's down to three schools, Coastal, two other schools. I don't know what it is. Kid hits a just a missile double, legs it out, gets on second base, and he's all excited, happy. Very next play, rocket to shortstop, catches, picks him off. He gets doubled off, and he just takes his helmet, throws it, storm, and just pouts, walks off the field. And for the next two innings, I'm watching Gary, I'm watching Coach Gilmore, and he's just watching him, just staring at him. And then all of a sudden, something happens in the dugout, and I see Coach Gilmore. I keep calling him Gary. I see Coach Gilmore take his pen out, do one of those, get up and leave. So that's a pretty good example. It's not that they're not really they want to see good results too, but a lot of these college coaches, they want to see how you act when adversity strikes, because these high school kids, they're when they go play college baseball, if they have the opportunity to play college baseball, they're likely probably the top 2, 3, 4 kids on their high school team. Now they get to these college teams, now they become middle of the pack, bottom of the pack. They're going to have adversity. How are you going to deal with it? You know, does a kid have some intestinal fortitude to get through it, or is he going to collapse and then pretty much be not a waste, but of no use?
So I ask this next question, I get a lot of different answers. You can take it in any direction you want.
Okay.
But just looking at the recruiting world, the interaction between parents and college coaches and players, what do you see as kind of the dark side of recruiting? Kind of leaves that bad taste in your mouth.
The dark side of recruitment, I could spin this multiple ways. One thing that I'm not a huge fan of is, and I'm not going to single out any school, but a lot of these schools bringing in too many players, making some false promises. Like, I know some schools will bring in 16, 18, 20 kids, promise them money. They get through a fall season, half of them don't pan out. See you later. I'm not a big fan of that. But on the other hand, I have to put myself in their position too. That's their career. They're feeding their families. So it's kind of a two-sided coin for me when it comes to that. But I think that's a big issue. And I think that one thing that would help that out was if the NCAA allotted a little bit more money for baseball for programs to work with. That way you could probably you could fulfill those promises you make. And I've said this for a while, and the one thing I wish college coaches, not college coaches, but college baseball in general would do when it comes to recruiting, throw that radar gun away. I hate it, because if I have another coach tell me this, I'm not going to recruit him if he doesn't throw 90. I just watched you all play on the Big Ten Network, and your closer's thrown 84. Why does this kid have to throw 90 to play for you? Why don't you put your radar gun away, come and watch him, and let the hitters tell you how good he is. If he's getting swings and misses on his fastballs, if he's getting swing and misses on what appears to be average breaking balls by the radar gun standard, that should tell you something. But I'm also anti-radar gun, because I feel the radar gun hurt me in my career, because I wasn't an overpowering pitcher. So again, it's kind of a two-edged sword for me. But I think the way college baseball is going now, I think it's going in the right direction. I would love to see that third, I think it's the second assistant, get paid. And I would, and
yeah, that was the big thing over the summer. Yeah.
And I would love, I just think it's really hard for these guys to have 11.7 scholarships and promise and make kind of these false promises to these kids. It's just, I don't know. That's a tough one. That's a tough question there. That's a very tough question.
Tell me a little bit about how the communication works. So a lot of parents are not understanding, you know, we've got some kids who are too young for college coaches to reach out. What's the normal process that the communication takes place between you guys, the college coaches, and the players? How does that work? Cell phone, email, text?
A lot of cell phones, a lot of text. For me, it's text message and face-to-face phone calls, FaceTimes. And I don't do a ton of emails. I don't, like, off season, I don't do a lot of emails, but when we're in season, a lot of emails. I find I think that's one of the better ways to reach out to a mass group of coaches, especially guys that I don't really know. But to go back, I wanted to kind of go back on what we talked about earlier. about the recruiting side. And one of the dark issues I think that we're seeing a lot now, you're seeing a lot of these kids commit when they're in 8th and 9th grade. And I'm not saying anything's wrong with it, but what happens if your son, what happens if that player doesn't get any better? He has limited himself to one school for 3 to 4 years. He's eliminated any opportunity he's had his junior, senior year. So I always tell kids that are top tier players at that age, be patient. If they want you now, they will want you later. That's just
Especially now with the rules, with the recruiting visit rules and stuff the way they have it now. I mean, you can't even get on campus for like a regular visit.
not at all, not at all. And I know during this dead period, a lot of these D1 coaches are using people like myself and probably you and like Josh Kirkendall and Caleb Stewart and anybody that has kind of like middlemen to get a hold of these players. Like, I'm not going to say the school. I've got a couple kids in our area that I've got some coaches that text me weekly, like, hey, have this kid call me at 7:00. Hey, have this kid call me at 8:00. So
Yeah, and that's normally the way. And there are a lot of parents don't understand that. They're thinking, well, the recruiting's not going to start until September 1st because the coaches can't call me. And it just doesn't work like that. They're talking to the travel team coaches or organizers and saying, just like what you said, hey, have him call me at 7. That way the player can initiate that and they can do that in any time they want.
and they're not breaking any rules.
Right. So you mentioned a little bit earlier. Tell me the timelines that you see guys on, because I get people, they start getting all jittery when other guys start committing early, like you mentioned. What's the normal timeline that you see? And maybe put it in groups like your Power 5 guys, your regular small D1 guys, and then kind of your D2, D3 JUCO guys.
I think your Power 5 guys, your major D1 programs, they like to have those guys wrapped up probably by the end of their junior year, I would say. And I would say probably your mid tier D1s, your D2 schools. I think they can be a little bit more patient to kind of see what's out there. I know me personally, I didn't sign until my senior year of high school in June after the state tournament.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I was very fortunate that Coastal Carolina still had some athletic money. I know Coach Gilmore came up to Watt Powell Park to watch me throw in the state tournament. He offered me in the McDonald's beside Watt Powell in June. And
he must have had a draft pick leave or something.
Exactly. And I was, when he made the offer, I remember vividly in my mind going, he has that much available? Because I was under the impression that was probably going to be maybe a walk on, couple $1,000, but I ended up getting not a great ride, but not bad.
Hey, Coastal's Coastal, man.
Exactly. And once I got there, I didn't really know how it all worked, and I'm like, 11.7 scholarships for all these good players? Like, this makes no sense to me. Like, my roommate was the first pick from the Phillies in the 2007 draft, and he was on like 30%.
That's the thing that parents don't, they have no idea about that, about how such quality guys that are on 30-40%.
Yeah, exactly.
So that brings up another point. What advice do you have for guys on the academic side when you start talking with coaches and they start trying to put offers together? What are coaches asking you about the grades or the academic side? And then what advice do you have for guys in that area?
Usually the first couple of questions I get are, what's the kid's character? How is he in school? Because when you're limited in your scholarships, the academic can you can piggyback that scholarship. And if you're a good student, you have good test scores, you have a good GPA, that 30-40% athletic ride can, at some schools, turn into an 80-90% ride, depending on what you score on your ACTs, your SATs, and your GPAs.
I just interviewed a kid that basically where the coach said, hey, he had such good academics that he said, listen, when you get in, whatever we can't cover on the academic side through financial aid, we'll give you the rest in baseball money, because he knew there wasn't going to be that much.
And another thing too, that's just, for example, you have the exceptionally smart kid who is a fence kid for a school. Okay. Let's just say he's a 29, 30, 31 ACT, left-handed pitcher. He's 76, 78, 80. Any coach in their right mind would take that kid because he's going to be free in state because of his grades. So you take a kid like that, the opportunities become endless for that kid because he's so good academically. So now you take him, maybe you redshirt him for a year, you beef him up, you get a little bit more arm speed. Now you're looking at a kid that's 82, 83, pitching out of the bullpen for you, getting outs. So it's one thing I wish I'd have done a little bit better job of in school. I was a pretty decent student. I wasn't outstanding, but I got a little bit of academic money when I went to Coastal, not a lot. But if you test well and you have a good GPA and you're a high character kid, man, it can help you immensely. I mean, a lot. Like you can almost double your scholarship sometimes.
Heck yeah, yeah.
Or if you're really, really good, like we've been talking about, you may get a full ride academically. And now that scholarship they're going to use on you athletically can go to somebody else.
Sure. So if I got a parent or a player, they're probably middle school, freshman year, they're just kind of getting into this, what advice do you have for that player and that parent starting off here? What recruiting advice do you have? What should they be doing?
They should listen to the baseball people. Really, really educate themselves on the process, educate themselves on what coaches really look for, educate themselves on how do I get my kid seen, how do I get my kid better, who do I need to take him to, what do I need from a coach, what does my son need to get better. I mean, there's multiple things that family, that player can do. And one thing I tell all of our kids all the time, and it's so crucial in this game, and I think you'll attest to this as well. You have to fall in love with off the field. If you can't fall in love with the work you have to do off the field, the chances of you making it, even being a productive high school player, are very slim. And I was blessed being 6'6" and left-handed. I didn't work exceptionally hard in high school, but once I got to Coastal, I realized I'm now a small fish in a big pond. If I want to play, I got to bust my ass. So I got my body better. I got stronger. I got in the weight room. I got in the swimming pool, and it was amazing the increases I saw from a velocity perspective. My recovery was better. But the one piece of advice, man, educate yourself. Educate yourself on what your kid needs to get better. Because some kids, they have exceptional athletic ability, but they have no baseball skill. Or they have great baseball skill, very little feel, very little IQ for the game. So there's multiple things that they can do to improve that. And one thing I've always said too is watch baseball.
You know what? I'm glad you said that, because there are so many guys that I talk to, like, hey man, did you see that game? Like, no. I don't think guys are watching baseball that much.
Yeah. Well, speaking of that, we're doing this interview and we got playoff baseball on right now.
I know. Yeah, I know. I'm looking.
I'm missing my Yankees play.
Hey, so as a player and a parent, they're getting ready. They're trying to look for travel teams. Why should they give a look to the Hounds?
For what we've done, our track record's very good. Yeah, we really have really good baseball people involved. We have one dad involved with a kid in the program that's a coach. There's no daddy ball, and again, step in our building, and our resume speaks for itself. And there's a lot of good organizations in this state, but I'll put the Huntington Hounds up against any of them.
So with your extensive baseball background, I can't let you go before I always ask I always ask a question about, hey, tell me a good recruiting story. This could be one of your recruiting stories. This could be from a coach. You can make it up. Just leave us with it could be. I don't want a tragic one, man. Give me a funny one where some kid got left at a gas station in the middle of the night, or what do you got for us?
You're gonna get me in trouble here.
But
I'm gonna tell you.
Make sure it's.
I'm gonna tell you a fantastic Cal Bailey story.
All right, there we go.
All right, a fantastic one. So, my third year at Coastal, they decided to drop me submarine. They wanted to drop me down. They wanted me to be a lefty specialist.
Man, lefty from that angle with your size? Whoa.
Exactly. And the pitching coach who ended up getting fired the year after that, I'm not going to say his name. You can probably look him up. He told me I didn't throw enough strikes. Well, that's what I do. I throw strikes. And I'm like, this guy is just freaking asinine. How do I not throw enough strikes when I haven't walked anybody hardly? And this came after fall where I threw about 20. I think I threw 20 or 23 innings, somewhere in that range. I walked like 3 or 4 guys. And I struck out a bunch. And I didn't throw hard, but I was blessed with a good curveball. And my curveball graded out to the big league level. The scout that drafted me told me that. I was like, hey, look, your fastball is low tier, your breaking ball is big league level. So he dropped me down submarine, didn't like it. And I decided after talking with my mom and dad that I was going to explore my options. Well, that summer I was going to the Coastal Plain League to play in Wilson. And this is right in the very beginning stages of cell phones. I didn't have one yet. And so my dad goes up to a West Virginia State game. I don't remember who they're playing or what the conversation was, but he went up to Cal afterwards and was like, hey, Cal, just want to give you a heads up. Zach loves you, and he's really thinking about transferring from Coastal. What can we do? And Cal's like, look, Mr. Baldwin, the NCAA prohibits me from contacting him until he gets his release, which I didn't have my release yet. So Dad calls me and says, hey, look, this is the situation. Cal can't contact you. And calls me back again. He said, Zach, call this number right here. So he gave me a 304 number. I knew it was a West Virginia number. And so he said, call this number for Thursday at 8 o'clock. So Thursday, 8 o'clock, I pick up the landline phone, call this number, collect. Hello? Cal Bailey answers. I'm like, Cal, what's going on? How are you? He's like, and we do our thing. We talk. And he's like, hey, next week, call me at this number at this time. Next week comes. I call
different number.
Different number. I call this number. He answers. He's like, he asked me, I remember very early on, he asked me, he goes, when do you have your release? I'm like, I don't have it yet. He's like, well, when you get it, let me know. I didn't get my release till almost the end of the summer season. And this is early in the summer. So next week, different number, call this number. Finally, I'm like, Cal, where am I calling you at? What in the hell is going on here? He's like, I want you to come here. I want you to be a West Virginia State Yellow Jacket. I cannot offer you, but you call me on a payphone.
He's going payphone to payphone?
He was going around Nitro, Sissonville, Charleston, to all these different payphones that had their numbers, the landline numbers. He was having me call him on a payphone to loophole around the NCAA from following him.
That's fantastic.
And I thought, at the time, I was like, this man is really smart. Because I'm like, there's no way they can trace this. So eventually, obviously, I ended up going to West Virginia State, having a pretty good career. And I owe a lot to my baseball success to Cal Bailey. And I love the man.
He's a legend. I saw him on social media today. Yeah, guys post about him all the time.
Yeah, may he rest in peace, man. When he passed away, that was
a big loss for us.
That was a big loss. That was a big loss for the state of West Virginia and the baseball community. And me personally, because I was my first year there under him, he treated me very well. He knew I was coming from a program that did it the right way. He gave me a lot of freedom, and he said, "I'll never forget this." He said, "Zach, I'm going to trust you until you F up, and just remember this." He said, "One old shit wipes out 50 attaboys. Don't have that old shit moment." And for the 2 years I played for him, I never had that old shit moment. Pardon my language, but and I just loved the man, loved his family, loved everything about him. And one thing that a lot of people don't understand about Cal, and I know some players that played for him could attest to this, he was probably a better professor than he was a baseball coach.
Really?
He was incredible in the classroom.
What did he teach?
He taught behavioral. I had him for a behavioral analytics or behavioral analysis class of the athlete. Behavioral analysis of the athlete was like a 412, a 400 level class. And man, it was a night class. I had him for a couple classes, but that night class I had with him, he got into it, and it was, you learned a lot. And I want one more Cal story. We're getting ready for our final exam for this 400 level class. He gives us a study guide, and it's probably 20, 25 questions. And if you know Cal is a why guy. Why did this happen? Why did that happen? Why were you in this position? Why did you throw that pitch? Why did that guy hit the ball like that? Everything was why. So he gives us these essay questions, and at the end of each one, it's why question mark. The question, why question mark. Why did this happen? So we get to our final exam. He passes out a single sheet of paper. It says the one question, and went why question mark. That was the question for the final. And you can just see everybody in just a massive panic. And luckily, I knew Cal very well, and I knew he was going to really like my answer, because you couldn't argue my answer. I wrote why not question mark and turned it in and walked out. Got an A.
Why not?
Why not?
Oh, Zach Baldwin, buddy. Hey, man, I appreciate you spending some time with us tonight. I'll let you get out of Dodge and go watch the Yankees, buddy.
Marty, I appreciate it, man. It was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
All right, buddy. Have a good night.